Howdy folks, Tex Grebner here with Tex Grebner Outdoors. I hope you guys are ready for your Tex Grebner Outdoors Saturday morning cartoon awesomeness. If you guys want to support the channel in a way beyond simply watching the videos, you can go to texgrebneroutdoors.com. Check out the Make It Weird sticker, the Make It Weird shirt, the Life Ain't Like the Pornos, Hunting Ain't Like the TV Show shirt, and of course my personal favorite, the Kill with Sticks shirt. Now, if you're looking for a reason to start a fitness journey or you need motivation to continue your existing fitness journey, I strongly recommend that you check out traintohunt.com, look into the Train to Hunt Challenge, and I really hope to see you one of these days at a Train to Hunt National Championship. I wish that I could get more traditional bow hunters involved in the Train to Hunt movement and more hunters in general, because the truth is, while you don't have to be in good shape to be a good hunter, as a hunter, you will never regret being in good shape. And it can be life-changing. In some cases, it can be life-saving. Now, speaking of traditional bow hunters, if you're looking for a discount on all your trad life supplies, you can go to threeriversarchery.com and in your checkout, use the discount code of Tex Grebner in your cart, in your checkout, and it will give you a discount on all your trad life supplies, because I strongly suspect that you might be investing in some stuff by the end of this video. Now, we're going to be talking about the hill style of aiming with a traditional recurve, or in Howard Hill's case, it was a longbow. And I'm going to kind of try and demystify the split vision style of aiming method, because the truth is, a lot of people seem to overcomplicate traditional archery. One of the most popular questions that I get over and over again is, how do you aim? Now, I guess the answer that I normally give isn't satisfactory. It doesn't really please anybody. Well, you look at what you want to hit, and if you're familiar with your equipment, you will automatically be able to align your bow and arrow with the target in order to hit what you're looking at. There are no shortcuts. However, that's not a satisfactory answer, and I'm going to try and take some of the confusion out of this for new traditional archers. I'm a fan of the hill style of shooting, but I also do it subconsciously. And everybody gap shoots. I don't care if you think you're an instinctive shooter. By definition, whether it's a millimeter or 4 feet, there's going to be a gap between your arrow tip and the target. The hill split vision style of shooting, where you shoot with both eyes open, one eye on the arrow and one eye on the target, doesn't work if you're using a 50-pound bow and a 450 grain arrow. It's too fast. In order to get your arrow to hit the target, your arrow has to be about 4 feet below the target. It just doesn't work, because energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be changed. You have potential energy and you have kinetic energy. When you draw the bow back to your face, you are loading it to its maximum potential energy. When the string comes forward and the arrow leaves the bow, it has been converted into kinetic energy. If you have an arrow that is lightweight, you are going to have your arrow lower than the target in order to make it hit the target at a reasonable distance. What I mean is 20 yards. If you can't hit a Copenhagen can at 20 yards without thinking about it, or even at 5 yards without thinking about it, well, then what the hell are you worried about shooting out to 35 and 50 yards with your recurve? Nobody is ever satisfied with the answer that I normally give of, when you can hit something without thinking about it, you're ready to move back. That doesn't mean don't be in control of your shot. What I mean is that you're familiar enough with your equipment and the form that you need to have that you are thinking about making sure that everything is correct, but you are not having to think about where your bow needs to be in relation to the target to make the arrow go where you want it to go. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, so by shooting a heavier arrow, we drop the speed of the arrow, but we gain more power. A lighter weight arrow creates more sound in the bow because the potential energy of the bow is not being completely absorbed, and because energy cannot be created or destroyed, that is why you will actually hear sound, because the remaining energy in the bow creates vibration. Vibration creates sound. So we're wasting energy. Now, here's what you got to understand. If you shoot a 600, maybe even a 700 grain arrow out of a 50-pound bow, the arrow will be slowed down enough that in order to hit the target, your arrow shelf needs to come up. And you will be able to do the hill style of shooting, one eye on the tip of your arrow, one eye on the target, in a binocular vision style of shooting. So I'm 10 yards from the bag right now, and I've got a clay pigeon in the center so that we have a reactive target. I've got the GoPro on the bridge of my nose, which is as close as I can get to actually getting a true view through the sight window on my recurve here, short of having a bionic eye that I can pop a card in and out of. But this is a 57-pound at my draw length Tiger Shark Pro from Southwest Archery, and it's got a 720 grain arrow. So if you remember, we talked about absorbing maximum potential energy and converting maximum kinetic energy, and that's what makes a bow really quiet. But in order to compensate for the loss in speed, even though we're gaining power, we have to bring the bow up, which brings our arrow closer to the target, which puts the point of the arrow and the target in the same plane of vision, so that we can actually see the target and the arrow at the same time. We focus on the target with our dominant eye, but using our non-dominant eye, we have an idea of where the arrow point actually is. Now we broke the clay bird. Howard Hill was a professional's professional, and he was very good at what he did. Now imagine that you're a mechanic. That is, unless you are a mechanic, and then you don't have to imagine it. But imagine that you're a mechanic, and a mechanic can look at a nut or a bolt and through experience understand whether or not they need to use a 7/16, half inch, 9/16, what wrench they need to get out of their toolbox. Now, in the case of Howard Hill, if you pay attention, Howard often has more than one style arrow in his back quiver, which stands to reason, at least in my head theoretically, that Howard would have set up different arrows for different shots to allow him to use his split vision style of shooting method, where they were set up at different weights, different lengths, and so on, because this was his job. Now, Howard Hill shot 90 to 100 pounds of draw weight. I shoot 70, 75, and 100 pounds in thereabouts. Now, what I can tell you for sure is that with the technology of the day, there was no way that they were catching an arrow on the frame rate that they had coming out of a bow that heavy unless the arrow was super heavy to slow that arrow down. Not everybody is crazy like me and shoots 75 pounds of draw weight here, which, by the way, I have to shoot at least 900 grains of arrow weight in order to get a 75-pound draw within the realm of split vision inside of 20 yards. So if you're shooting in the 50-pound draw weight range, between 45, like 48, I guess, 48 and 53, a traditional only .340 with a standard insert and 300 grain point, 5-inch shield cut feathers, and a reflective arrow wrap, that's going to get you pretty squared away to let you have fun with what you're doing until you accumulate a knowledge base and an experience level to where you don't have to think about whether or not what you're doing is right. All you're thinking about is this all correct? Because you have the experience level built up. There is no shortcut, but I am at least trying to shorten people's learning curve and explain why split vision style shooting doesn't work, and possibly, again, I never talked to him in person to verify, possibly why split vision aiming worked so well for Howard Hill. Now, part of being a professional is staying where you're good, or I should say part of looking professional is staying where you look good. Because if you're not really good at something, at least look cool as hell doing it. I kind of feel like I'm breaking the magician's code of silence here, but I'm also not an expert, and I can't guarantee that this is why and what Howard did. It just makes the most sense to me. But it's undeniable that Howard Hill is a legend in modern archery, a legend in the 20th century, and his legend still continues because obviously we're in the 21st century, and here I am talking about him. But I hope that this kind of demystifies the science behind how to make the split vision style of shooting work. What I can say is it doesn't work very well with a lightweight arrow that is cut very short. And the sad fact is, if you are getting into traditional archery and you go to a shop that doesn't specialize in traditional archery equipment, they're probably going to fit you for an arrow by having you draw a bow back to an anchor point, and they're going to add about 2 inches to that and screw on 125 grain points after they cut your arrows, put feathers on them, and send you out the door with a probably 450 grain arrow at maximum for a 50-pound draw bow. It's going to be shooting super flat. It's going to be shooting super fast. And don't get me wrong, shooting flat, not necessarily a bad thing. But you're also a beginning archer, and you really, not to put any limitations on you, don't have any business shooting out to 40 yards yet, because you really don't know what you're doing. So the truth is that by getting a heavier arrow, bring your arrow shelf up closer to the target, it puts both eyes in the same plane of vision where you can more intuitively make hits on target. Now, there is no arrow that is going to automatically make you a better shooter. Just isn't going to happen. However, I do believe that a .340 traditional only from Three Rivers Archery, 300 grain point, standard insert, and 5-inch shield cut feathers. I prefer right wing. And I really love the arrow wraps that are the reflective white. I love them. They just look wicked cool. And do shield cut feathers have any advantage over parabolic? Well, they look cooler. But the point is, that arrow is going to be good and heavy. And as a beginner, I can't guarantee you beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is going to tune perfectly out of your bow. But if it's a center cut, 50-pound range recurve, it's going to at least get you close enough so that you can more easily, intuitively shoot your recurve with the split vision method. And then you can eventually get good enough to where you can really fine tune it. But as I've said before, you cannot force flowers into bloom. And I've also said this before, that people really overcomplicate traditional archery. If you're new, there is a lot that you don't even need to worry about yet because you're not good enough for it to matter. Get good, and then you can worry about getting even better. I really hope that this video helps you guys. As always, God bless all my sportsmen of America. Join the NRA to protect our rights. Please become my friends over at threeriversarchery.com. Thank you very much those who are involved in law enforcement and those who serve in the military. Thanks for watching Tex Grebner Outdoors.